Topping today's news, the government to stop the illegal export of natural resources. Prime Minister Philip Davis attends Chogum, and the police are busy investigating the latest homicide. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. Thanks for joining us. Following the announcement of the launch of the Bahamas Wildlife Enforcement Network, or BAHWEN, last week, National Security Minister Wayne Munroe says part of the new unit's mandate will be to stop the illegal export of native wildlife. Lieutenant Commander Conray, head of the BAHWEN, says their observation has revealed an illegal export industry disguised as a disaster relief aid. She notes that oftentimes individuals enter the country in the name of disaster relief, intent on smuggling contraband on their way back across the border.
So there are several areas of priority. One of the things that we do as a steering committee is the steering committee is made up of a very diverse grouping of persons from conservation sector, from the law enforcement sector, science policy sector. And one of our topics recently has been what are the priority areas. So it would be, well, it might be common knowledge that we have the largest supply of seahorses in the world at this point. So that's an area. Obviously, the pine forest is another area. We have our rock iguanas. During hurricanes, one of the trends that we have been seeing is persons would come in under the guise of aid, and then they would leave with a lot of our abaco parrots. And so there are quite a few species that are both botanical as well as animals that are requiring some priority areas.
Minister Munroe noting that government has placed high priority on stopping the exportation and exploitation of our natural resources, both animal and botanical. He further notes that while the agency is now just in its infancy stages, moving forward, they will be spearheading any such operations.
Infancy, no doubt, they will depend on the expertise of the Royal Bahamas Defence Force, which is the lead agency, and the police. But for instance, she mentioned the exploitation of our wildlife and fauna during hurricanes. We're headed into hurricane season, and so they have been told that that's one of the areas we wish them to man right now. So if we are to see the passage of a storm, they can expect to be deployed to the strike zone so that we do not have people coming in bringing cases of water and leaving with rock iguanas and pirates and snakes and protected trees. And so we're alive to what the issues are. It's been happening for some time, and we're going to step in now to arrest it.
As of now, the Bahamas Wildlife Enforcement Network is being driven by officers of the Royal Bahamas Defence Force and features a mixture of officers from the Royal Bahamas Police Force, immigration, and even scientists from the various conservation bodies around the country. However, according to Lieutenant Commander Corney, recruitment exercises are set to begin soon after the necessary legislation is passed to legitimize the body as a recognized armed force within the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Squatters living on Crown land in southwestern New Providence have been given 14 days to vacate the land, according to National Security Minister Wayne Munroe. And while that is welcome news for many residents in the area, leader of the Coalition of Independents and activist Lincoln Bain lamented on Friday that he and farmers were the ones who reported illegal activities on the Crown land, inclusive of coal mining and illegal gun range and squatting, with officials taking some 3 weeks to respond, all while claiming he was assaulted by a police officer and media was not shown the entirety of the issues plaguing the Crown land area, including illegal dumping and what he calls an environmental catastrophe.
Where's the police presence in the shanty towns? Where's their presence in the shanty towns? The first coal mining area. Y'all be quiet, please. Be quiet. Be quiet. The first coal mining area where you all went, there's a dump in the back there. They did not take you all to the dump. You all had to drive past it to get there. They've been dumping there. Illegal immigrants are in the back there. It's a section where PLP, they have, it's a new day on the post, and they didn't take you all there. All right? There's a dump in the back there that you all drove past They didn't want us there because they didn't want to show you what was really going on.
Thank you.
All right? There's a whole environmental catastrophe right where you all went, but they didn't show you all. All right? The Defense Force has no jurisdiction on land.
None.
We are not at a government office. We are on public crown land. And so your man assaulting me in front of you, you are going to get a writ. Okay? You are going to get a writ.
Acting Director of the Forestry Unit, Danielle Hannock, responding to claims that the media was not shown the entirety of the dumping, says it's not her jurisdiction, but they are doing their assessment to see what areas were impacted, noting that the media was shown a highlighted area of her department's concerns.
Because you all took them on a tour just now, and there's a whole dump in the back there, and you all circumvented the dump. You all didn't show them the dump.
I wouldn't say that, sir. I would say today that we did a highlight of the areas of concern.
So you know a dump is back there?
Yes, sir. We did.
But you all didn't show the media the dump.
Why?
You all drove past it.
So I would say that's not my jurisdiction. I'm here dealing with forestry, dealing with the trees. That is where my purview ends. So I'm dealing with
But the trees were cut down to do a dump,
Yes.
to accommodate the dump.
But I can see that the trees were cut down and they were illegally harvested. There's no legal permits in this area. Neither are there illegal permits for any of the dwellings in this area.
So all of the Bahamians.
Ms. Hannock says they have been monitoring the area for about 7 years, and they have plans to complete a full assessment in order to move forward. Prime Minister Philip Davis leading a delegation that includes Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell to the 2022 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, or CHOGM, in Kigali, Rwanda. This is the 6th time that an African nation has hosted the event. Leaders from 54 countries will participate in Kigali for CHOGM, with nearly 5,000 participants expected at this week's long meeting, or at the week-long meeting, including participation from government, business, and civil society under the theme, Delivering a Common Future, Connecting, Innovating, and Transforming.
Prime Minister will be making interventions there as well on behalf of the Bahamas and, of course, the Caribbean community, speaking to several issues. This comes on the heels of a successful visit to the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles, California last week, where the Prime Minister would have spoken as well. When the Prime Minister is back, he'll be here for a day or two, and then he will wrap up his stint of travel at CARICOM, which will be in Suriname from July 3rd to the 5th. And, of course, the Bahamas will make major representation there. Also, Prime Minister will be the incoming chairman for CARICOM beginning in January. So this is an important meeting for him, as the Bahamas will assume the chairmanship beginning January of next year.
That is Press Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Clint Watson, giving details of the Prime Minister's future engagements. Now, as Prime Minister Davis has been heavily criticized by the opposition for his frequent travels since coming to office, Press Secretary Watson explained the following.
Many of you have been talking and hearing about the 3 major conferences back to back. That's not the normal thing. What normally happens is the Summit of the Americas is normally held in April. CHOGM is only held in November. CARICOM is held in July. CHOGM is held every 2 years. Summit of the Americas is held every 4 years. CARICOM is held every year or every 6 months, which just so happens that everybody's coming off of the pandemic with travel, and so all of the conferences were pushed into June and July. Hence, the Prime Minister's heavy schedule with attending these conferences, which are mandatory for heads of state, because these are the 3 member associations that the Bahamas belongs to, the largest associations that the Bahamas belongs to.
Sessions at the 2022 CHOGM meeting began on Sunday with forums covering youth, women, and business. Foreign Affairs and Works and Utilities Minister Fred Mitchell and Alfred Sears, Attorney General, Senator Ryan Pinder, along with the Bahamas Ambassador to the United States, Wendell Jones, and other dignitaries met with some 14 U.S. government officials last week seeking financial assistance with Hurricane Dorian restoration efforts for Abaco and Grand Bahama, as well as infrastructural improvements around the Atlantic Undersea Test and Evaluation Center, that's AUTEC, on Andros. The trip was organized after a cabinet decision that the government will engage the U.S. law firm of Holland and Knight to lobby the United States for assistance. The government's assuring that it remains committed to its partnership with the United States through its bilateral agreements, interlocking borders, and shared values. Senators met today in the upper chamber to begin their debate on the 2022-2023 national budget, which, when passed by the senators and signed by the Governor General, will be implemented on July 1st. Leader of Government Business in the Senate, Minister of Economic Affairs, Senator Michael Halkitis, tabled a number of documents, a compendium of bills known as the budget bills, including the introduction and first reading of a bill for an act for the appropriation of diverse sums of money for and towards deferring the expenses of the government on the revenue account for the financial year beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023, and a bill for an act for the appropriation of approximately $371.1 million for and towards deferring the expenses of the government for capital development for the financial year ending June 30th, 2023. The compendium of bills were passed in the lower chamber this past Thursday. During the Andros Business Outlook, it was revealed that several major capital work projects are in line for Andros, including roads, bridges, and docks. But in this next report, we hear how tourism is quickly bouncing back on the island following the COVID-19 pandemic and a new nature-based initiative underway. While the entire country is rebounding from the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, some islands like Andros are showing their resilience and are experiencing economic activity greater than before the pandemic. As one of the keynote speakers at Thursday's Andros Business Outlook, Latia Duncombe, Acting Director General of the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, made this confirmation.
I'm very proud to say that Andros is among the first islands of the Bahamas to surpass pre-pandemic visitor arrivals. In 2019, Andros welcomed more than 9,000 visitors. 2 years later, into the tourism recovery and rebound, and at the end of 2021, Andros registered more than 12,000 visitors, the highest in its history, 30% more than 2019.
Ms. Duncombe went on to explain the reasons behind the quick economic rebound for the tourism market on Andros.
The appreciable increase in visitor arrivals is due to the development of luxury resorts, strategic marketing, and the pandemic itself. The pandemic has awakened the world to the appeal of the Bahamas' largest island. The secret is now out. Andros, a pristine wonderland of countless blue holes, superb diving, fishing, birding, hunting, forests, fishing flats, and Great Barrier Reef, is indeed a mecca for adventure travelers and those seeking social distancing.
Ms. Duncombe was also pleased to inform that the Ministry of Tourism is in the process of creating a more focused approach to nature tourism, which global adventure travel expects to blossom to a $2.02 billion industry by 2030, less than 8 short years away.
The Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, in collaboration with Andros stakeholders, is in the process of implementing a community-based tourism cluster project that will position Andros to tap into the lucrative flats fishing, birding, and adventure travel markets that dominate the nature-based travel in this region. The Andros Community-Based Tourism Cluster Development Project, which brings together diverse stakeholders within a community for a common purpose, is the first of its kind in the Bahamas. Cluster projects have become the driving force behind Sustainable Development Goal funding by international donor agencies, and so this initiative is very important to the Bahamas.
According to Ms. Duncombe, once successful with the 2-year Andros Cluster Project, the Bahamas will be able to access funding for similar projects on other family islands. Already, 55 cluster project concepts have been submitted throughout the Caribbean region. The Bahamas has been one of 6 projects shortlisted. We'll take a break here, and we'll be right back after these commercials.